Hey, 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 welcome to H&D Abroad. Happy Saturday. Glad you are here. I am Herman. This is the beautiful and lovely and adorable D. Good to see you, darling.
Hello, everyone. In full voice
You hear
again.
that? That's all right. We enjoyed the hum, dude. It's good to see you all. Welcome to our channel. Welcome to today. Hope that you all have had an amazing week because you chose to.
Oh, yes, it's definitely not because life isn't lifing, and
Yeah, it's because you chose
the
to.
ability to ingest the chaos
Ooh.
or ignore the chaos. You have hopefully chosen well, protected your peace in whatever capacity that is. Um, we are in month 2 of our countdown of leaving the US. Y'all, the more things that get cleared out, I thought I was going to, feel some kind of way. I do. And then I keep saying, but what is waiting for us is so much more.
You better know it. We are doing big things because that is the decision that we have made, and we are wishing that on each and every one of you. So as it's been said, happy Black History Month, day
Yes.
one. And black is black. And yes, and Diane, you said we're glowing. I was just messing with the what do you call it? The filter features. I almost left them on there. It made me look like I was all made up since I'm not that pretty by nature. But it's we're having a good time.
Yeah.
It's starting to slowly warm up here in our little southern city. I never know quite how long that's gonna last because we still got a few months of it possibly
Going
jumping back and forth.
Yeah.
But Sundays, sunny days, and warmth days are always appreciated, and so we're just sucking it up and enjoying it. And you know, I'm crazy about this girl, so we get to hang out and
Look,
have a little fun.
it's Love Month, it's Black History Month, it's Black Love Month.
Hey,
Look, I'm down for it. I want to say before we forget,
okay,
we are Herman and Dee. We have this channel as a part of our accountability, as our commitment to creating a space where folks can get together, we can learn together, we can share. We are sharing the decisions and all of the background work that goes with a decision to move abroad. And if that is interesting to you, we invite you, we encourage you, we will wait for you
to take a minute right now and like this video.
Yes.
Trust me, it's already good. It's good. So like this video. As always, we ask and solicit your subscription to our channel because, as we always say, this is a community channel, and the growth and opportunity we have with sharing with you has been way more of a benefit to us than we don't know. We hope that we are as helpful to you as you all have been in embracing us as a channel that you watch. And as always, hit the notification bell. We go live every Saturday, 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to start back on my Monday nights. So Man Mondays will be back. And of course, the beautiful will be on her Thursdays on Women Health Spotlight evenings. We do those at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern on Monday and Thursday.
Yeah.
So we're here a lot. And if you're here a lot with us, then you know your family.
Absolutely. So it's over his shoulder. He brought me flowers. Oh. Look, it's the little things. Today's topic, the number one sign you're ready to move abroad and it's not money, has been inspired by several conversations that we've had with our friends that have moved abroad. I see you, Elise, in the comments. She knows the heart-to-heart we had this week. Stephen and LaShawn, and several folks that we watch. Adelia Borshade had a wonderful discussion on Tuesday. Don't be shaken up by what's happening politically, especially if you're in the US. Stephen and LaShawn on their channel have been giving the gives for why and the joy that comes in the decision. Yes, there are difficult things to navigate, and a lot of what we do talk about is money. But I can tell you, we're going to give you in this discussion, we've decided to get our own number one, choose our own individual number one, and the reasons why, so that you get two different perspectives. That's why we are a Black couple. This channel is specifically about our journey as a Black couple that is not retired. We don't have money sitting aside, but we are choosing where we want to be for joy, for peace, and for community. So, all right. Hey, Sonia. Mind and Manna, yes.
I see all the good people here. I've written your hellos. Hello to you all. I want to say specifically, if your special man, somebody, be that your significant other or a brother or uncle or dad, somebody important to you, while I'm talking today,
invite them to join.
I need them to be a part of this conversation.
Because I think not only are we sharing, but this is a conversation where we want to answer your questions, give voice to the comments that you're making, because we are wanting to share the fruit of 2 years of mashing this process and coming up with, I thought the biggest thing I was going to have to deal with was, how am I going to fund my life abroad? And it wound up being something totally different, in the hopes that your plan will include a little bit of H and a little bit of my insight. So,
do you have any information you want to share? Anything from the past that we need to share, or anything coming up that you want to share?
Okay, so we have, and I will make sure that I post links. I'll go back when this video fully renders on YouTube. We've had several conversations about move abroad good enough plan. We've had several conversations that I think are important for folks to consider, not just the dollars and cents of the process, but other things that should be considered, like, what is the community like? What are my needs? When I'm scouting, what are the top things? And we've had some great guests to also give their insight. So I'll make sure that I continue to reference that. I know Dr. Maya was on a couple of weeks ago when we talked about scouting. We have interviewed several folks that are in the chat today. And so I think just, kind of backing away, saying a lot of folks are motivated to move abroad because the political situation can feel chaotic here in the States. And a lot of people are talking about, throwing up their hands and saying, not only do I need to leave, but I need to leave now. And, they're like, well, as long as I got my money right, I'll just go and then figure it out on the way. And I think there are a couple of other things that should be considered just from our lived experience. Look, this gray hair should tell you, I've had a little time on this earth.
There's no hair. Has had an equally amount of time on this earth.
And so I think where we, you need to be solid. So what I don't want this conversation to be is a neglect of the money.
Right. So when we said it's not the money, it's the money. But it's not. But what we're learning is there are pieces that have to be in place, at least from our viewpoints, that impact towards finances. So I'll start.
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
100%.
I'll start. And and I'm going to take the first 30 minutes. No, my recent mental health care. My recent mental health care has included working on goal setting. You almost, and the reason I asked that you have the gentleman be a part of this conversation today, or come back and watch this conversation, is I'm recognizing that the comfort of life, and I don't mean that in the sense of I'm doing well, but in the sense of I'm in a rhythm of doing things a certain way. So you learn habits based on expected responses from the people around you. You take on certain responsibilities based on customs and culture and expectations of people around you. You make mistakes, you spend life fixing them. There's so many things that impact how we as men, and Black men in particular, or men of color in particular, move through life. And one of the things that I think I knew, but I had not really taken to heart, was that I have not done any goal setting for a long time. When I began my conversation with my mental health professional, he asked me how long it had been. I specifically asked for a Black male. And he asked me how long has it been since I've done any goal setting. And when I realized that it had been technically a couple of decades, possibly, I was in doing the time frame. And again, we've done some little, this and that. I need to do this. I want to accomplish that. I mean, but some real mindfulness, sitting down, goal setting, I was well out of time with doing that. And he shared with me that he had also gone through a period of time. He's a successful professional doing this thing. And he said, and I was trying to accomplish some things. And every time he was trying to accomplish those things, he was having setbacks. And he said, well, let me look at my goals. And he realized he hadn't written goals in a long time. And he said, once I began to work on those goals, that everything began to take a different shape, and forward motion became a part of his life. In conversations that my beautiful bride and I have, in dealing with me and where I am in my place in my life, there has been, admittedly, for lack of a better word, a good deal of stagnation, a lack of motivation, forward movement. And so my number one thing is mindset, because I think it encompasses quite a few things. When we began this conversation, about move abroad, she said, I want to do, I want to see, I want to go. You've heard me say before, traveling, into traveling, love traveling, let's go. Had never really in-depth considered what would picking up, packing, and moving away from things and people and resources and familiarity to another place look like. And so I essentially did not have anything to share. I did not have the conversation skill to express anything. And I shared, which was my truth. Wherever you want to go, we can go there. I think that is a male thing, because a lot of the men that I talk to, and she's been there, she's heard it, they say, baby girl, as long as I'm with you, the sky's the limit. And unless we run into some place that specifically looks like, yeah, I don't like that, we can make it work. So we've discussed places that I've been really great about, that we've visited, and some places that I've been like, I can make it work. We've only been to one place to date that I've been like, I wouldn't want to live there. Okay. And I think that even with that, that's about the experience that I had and not necessarily a full opportunity to engage the space and learn from it. But what do I want? Where am I going? What do I want to accomplish? There has been an ongoing conversation from the ladies' spouses who say, I want to, he does not want to. I'm trying to convince him to, he's not interested in. And we have regularly shared, where is his mind? What is your mindset? What are you trying to share with him? And are you sharing it with him in a way that meets his understanding and knowledge, his concerns, his apprehensions? I shared with the gentleman we were a guest on that show. I said, sometimes you have to decide if the people you want to take care of need you to take care of them, or if you've decided you're going to take care of them. And sometimes it's a little bit of both. And then how do I express that to my partner, that I have a need to do these things so that I feel comfortable moving forward? Mm-hmm. When you prepare to move to another country, it's not, I moved down the street. It's not, I just packed a bag and I live somewhere else. I live on the other block on another. You're in a space where you're having to deal with, I don't know how they're going to react to me. Mm-hmm. I don't know how they're going to respond to me. I don't understand anything that they're saying when they open their mouths. I don't eat that. I don't eat like that. They don't have, I won't have, my friends won't be, my family won't be. There are a lot of instant negative things that influence the desire to move forward. Is your mindset ready to simply step into a whole new life? And I think sometimes we have to take responsibility for where we limit ourselves. There are a lot of lies that come through the format of media to our information. And I can't come up with a better word for it. Misinformation, misdirection. You hear us say constantly, as well as guests that we've had on the show. You step into some of these countries that you've heard there's some little back town, it's just Mexico. There's nothing there. It's Latin, South America, it's Africa. And then you get there and find out that these are high-end industrial, urbanized. They are LA, New York, Chicago, Detroit, all dropped into another country. They are spaces, but even more than that, these are people who are engaging and loving and caring and open and not so bogged down with the black or white that I think sometimes that is America. Go ahead. You had a thought?
I did. What I'm finding, and maybe I just haven't looked for it where I currently live, is that I'm finding that there's a better blend, a more respect of traditional ways and integrating them into the way that we live in a modern society. It's like they peacefully can coexist, mm-hmm. that we can have traditional festivals, multiple dialects spoken. Mm-hmm. I just don't see that here. And that was definitely an unexpected treat to see across our last set of trips.
Yeah, there's so much joy that can be derived from the vastness of learning. When you in my goal setting, I had to figure out, so what does goal setting look like? What is required to write a goal?
Mm-hmm.
And it is first to take into account, where is your life now? And if these things are important, where do they fit in, and how do you implement them in a forward motion kind of thought?
Mm-hmm.
Not just how do I exist in the space that is today, how do I plan for them? In this move abroad conversation that we've had, when I say mindset, I've had to plan for this. I've had to say, okay, D, I don't know if I like that concept. I don't know if I like that idea. I feel this kind of way about selling the house or renting the house. I feel this kind of way about when we visited this part of that country or that or the other. And you've heard me say before that we have to get out of our heads. I have to get out of my head, because I hold whole conversations here in this big noggin. And to be able to say out loud, this is important to me, or this makes me anxious. And then to what Kimmy is saying here is to overcome the risk averseness that has become so pervasive in my personal life. I said to Dee yesterday, I remember having hope at 18, walking onto college campus for the first time. I remember being hopeful at 22, walking off that campus in my cap and gown with my so-called degree under my arm. But I also very, very vividly remember all the times I was overlooked or misrepresented or dismissed or mistreated or in some cases abused in my strive for growth, in my strive to learn. That the naivety of my approach in life, I think, sometimes made me vulnerable. And so it has built calluses on my forward motion that almost have made me incapable of seeing the beauty that is life. Wow. And so I'm changing my mindset. I'm standing in front of some people who don't speak the language I'm speaking, and we're laughing like we understand each other. Versus I'm standing in front of people who just not necessarily look like me, but who speak my language and live my country, and I'm having to fight for
to be understood.
Woo! To be appreciated, to be respected.
Yeah, which gives us a chance to quickly go to this question from Libria, because I think a lot of people think, well, the language is going to make the experience, or lack of language skills is why people feel like they fail. I don't know if language itself, I feel like there's something that rolls up from my perspective, and I don't want to dip too deep into my list. Good. But what I'm finding, and thank you so much for this question, what I'm finding is mindset. I'm not a tourist. I'm not a visitor. I desire to be a part of the community. Lorana, Stephen, and LaShawn showed me the best examples of that when we were in Ecuador. The richness of their experiences, even with what they say may be a modest understanding, allowed them to be able to engage, not just from a needs perspective, but I mean, I watched Lorana check in with people from her balcony. How you doing? Or she shares on her page about, I buy flowers from the market. And she had been watching a mother and father with their newborn and then watched that child get old enough to walk. And she said, I happened to choose this person. And she was like, with the Spanish that I know how, I said, bless you, with this little flower gift. I won't say little, but with this token of appreciation for impacting my life with just your presence. For me, the language is a part of my approach to integrating in a community. And to hear people say, I will never learn the language, or I've been here for 6 years and I don't know this language. I'm not perfect in the language. I
have made no attempts.
The mindset part is then it's not going to work. The CNN article about the couple that moved, they sold all this stuff in the States, moved to France, and was like, I'm not going to associate with any expats. I'm not going to learn the language. I don't have time. You're there 6 months and you're wondering why your experience isn't what you want it to be. Your mindset, I think about, how will I move in my new space, that I set benchmarks for myself, which is, I guess, a component of goal setting, is that I'm not trying to be a local. I'm just saying that out of respect for the space that I'm entering, I will seek to understand and to be understood. That is a mindset.
There are those of us who are going to struggle with the language no matter how much we practice it. What I have found in our limited travels has been, when you are making an effort to be conversational, not even language skilled, when you are making an effort to be conversational, when you are making an effort to be engaged, when you are looking them in the eye and talking to them as equal people, they realize respect is a profound factor in engagement. And I think so much I think sometimes as people of color have lost do not recognize our American privilege. Okay, we being an underserved group of people.
Life, come on,
being an underserved group of people, we feel the pain, but we don't recognize what we bring to a place, and there is a measure of humbleness and humility in all spaces that I think is necessary. You have to be prepared to say, I'm going to someone else's house. And in their house, I'm going to respect their space. I'm not building a house in somebody else's living room. I'm going into their house, and I'm being grateful that they've allowed me the time and space to be a part of that space. And that respectfulness in a space creates an engagement that opens so many doors. Kevin, the Melanin Man, he talks about, just because he was respectful, People have said, hey, when you come back, we got a place for you to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we'll help pay for your flight. Hey, we're going to introduce you to more people. He didn't ask for any of that. We're just talking about because he brought the decency to say, hey, how can I learn here? How can I be a part of what's here? Not how can I segregate some more in a space that, and then be upset because it doesn't conform to what I understand. There is an emotional, one of the things it says here, it says independence and problem solving. Mm-hmm. This is a thinker. This is a rationalizer. This is a what. And I am the same, but it's funny how much of that I've tucked away somewhere, because what do you want? Sometimes it's just easier. Mm. What the hell do I want?
Come on now. Come on now.
Where am I going? What am I trying to establish? I have considered that if I am not prepared, I don't go.
Okay.
Because if I am ineffective in this collaborative process, then what am I doing? If I'm not, there are, listen, if you watch enough of these couples who are content creators who have these various shows, except for people like Steve, who's up front, and even with our friend Stephen LaShawn, these ladies decide the flow of what we are doing. Go watch Our Black Utopia. Tell me I'm a liar. Go watch Agent Grateful. Tell me I'm a liar. And we're not talking about disengaged husbands. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about men who are failing to express themselves. We're talking about strong Black women who we married on purpose. Hello. Okay. And they bring their A game. They bring their thoughts, their words, their understanding, their anticipations, their expectations to the table. And we either just put up or shut up. And sometimes we put ourselves in the background.
Come on, Jice. Come on, Jice.
I find that not knowing the language keeps the humanity in us and the people we try to converse with in another country. We empathize with those who may struggle with the language. Absolutely.
It's given me a whole new perspective.
It does not make me more discriminatory against the guys who are standing out here every day, Sunday through Saturday, building houses in my neighborhood who speak zero English. But if I treat them with respect, I got new grass. Okay. You have to be prepared. If you are not grounded individually before you make this move abroad process, you will fall on your face.
Not just fall on your face. It is such a one-dimensional experience if you start with, do you know English? And that's not the purpose. When I set the goal of moving abroad, I'm not, as I say, blowing up my life so that I can go live my exact life somewhere else. I'm open to change. I'm open to newness. I'm open to how this new process, new people, new experiences may show some not so great parts of myself, some things that I didn't recognize about myself, that there's going to be a little pain about who I am, and I'm going to be confronted with a choice. Mm-hmm. And so mindset, if I have defined that I am open to change as a part of my goal setting, then what am I going to do with, I'm upset that this important residency process is moving at a pace that is not to my desire. That when someone sets an appointment, that they have more flexibility in mind than I do on their time of arrival or what it means that a process is complete. So yeah, or y'all, the part that I struggle with, that's in the mindset conversation, is that on the other side, that there may be a perspective that it is okay to overcharge me because I am a guest. That's a struggle. That's a struggle. And knowing what to do with that and how to process that or to address it in the moment when I might see that, but also recognizing I'm bringing a lot of trauma. Somebody mentioned trauma earlier. I'm bringing a lot of bias trauma, a lot of just what I've been through as a Black person in the US, that I'm bringing that with me. And my mindset says, I got some undoing, some untangling, some release, I got some anger that I'm going to have to work through that is not theirs to deal with, but standing and saying, I deserve to be treated with respect is the balance. Where you find that is an everyday choice.
Consider it like this. We have behavioral health background. Okay. You've known enough people. You know somebody who has adopted young children, not adopted new babies, adopted young children, or had foster kids, or taken on their grandkids or somebody else's kids, who may have had some level of trauma or bad experience, or and imagine what that family dynamic relationship looks like in their house. You are the foster child. You're moving into somebody else's space. You have to be mindful about, you say all the time, you bring you with you. What you have and who you are, you need to know that's going with you. And that's not their responsibility to fix. That's not their responsibility to adapt to. That's not their responsibility. That's yours. Last thing. So many people are worried that they are going to lose their friends, or they won't be able to find a Black community, or diversity. For me, is one of the broadest flowers of life. I bought these roses, but sometimes I buy chrysanthemums. Sometimes I buy carnations. Sometimes I buy lilies.
Don't forget my favorite, sunflowers.
Sometimes I buy sunflowers. Because the beauty of the individualness of each plant brings its own experience, its own smell, its own. And when you get out here in the world, you're going to make new friends. Some of those friends will be a part of the community that came with you or came because you came, but some of them are going to be the locals. I walked up on this little restaurant, literally not much bigger than this space you see in the square of this camera. Gentleman behind the counter, young lady standing in front, young couple. If you're ever in Medellin, however you want to say it, and you're in the Lagares community, stop by Ginger Cocina.
Ginger Cocina.
Ginger Cosina. Young blood made me want to cook again. It's just a little something. And she stood there and talked to me. Perfect English she got because she used to work on Wall Street. But she's a full-blood Colombian. He spoke very little English, which means he talked to me through her half the time. And I developed some new friends in a 30-minute conversation because they recognized I respected the space they were in, not just their little restaurant, but they're not just the neighborhood I was in, but their community, their background, their history. And he cooked me a meal that I won't soon forget. It was equivalent to going to Cava or Chipotle but the skill, the skill.
Yes.
There is, and there is so much. There is so much to experience. If your money's not right, get your mind right. If your health is not right, get your mind right. If your relationships are not right, get your mind right. You are in control of one thing.
Yep.
That's you. It's the one thing you can make adjustments to and changes to. They can make all the laws they want to make. They can make all of it. You decide you. You choose for you. So my one thing is mindset. Because for me, that affects everything. So in my goals, I'm rewriting my financial plan. She doesn't know that. I just told her. In my goals, I'm rewriting what my relationship to my wife, to my children, to my parents, to my siblings, to my nieces and nephew will look like. She doesn't know that. I'm rewriting what my health plan will look like. Because I'd like to be here long enough to deal with the relationship part. Because that's not just important for me. That's important to the vows I made to you. So that's mine. That's my 30 minutes.
Okay. I didn't think he was going to talk for 30 minutes, but there we go. And what I want to do is acknowledge the growth I see in you because of this process specifically. The intentions that I see in which the biggest concern that I had as a wife was that this was my dream and you were going to go, you were just going along with it. And I'm not going to say in the beginning that might have been his approach because, you know what you know and you don't know what you don't know. But Exodus Summit transformed my ability to go from a plan to a plan with action steps and people who were doing the thing that would offer the breadcrumbs to get us to the other side. Not me, but us. And that there was intention inside of me as your partner that this would be a we process. That I am well capable.
Speak the truth.
I am well capable of structuring a plan and moving you along and getting things done. But this process was to mean happiness and joy for me, for you, and for us. And that I protected that approach, hopefully.
Absolutely.
At every stage of preparing to launch.
Understand that doesn't mean that the conversations were always easy and polite. never disrespectful, but sometimes the conversations are hard because the reality of the individualness of this process can sometimes weigh heavily on the collaborative part of this process.
Mm-hmm.
And it is easier at times, fellas, let's tell the truth, to be the whatever you say, yes, dear, okay. Because if it ain't really a fight, if it ain't really a thing, then you do you. But you said something. Husbandry is about more than just doing things.
Mm-hmm.
Husbandry is we often miss the connectedness that is necessary to meet the emotional needs of a woman. Because we establish the do things. We establish the do things. And in establishing the do things, sometimes we miss the feel things. We don't feel less. Okay? In this American walk, feeling Black men receive a lot of negativity. We are criticized for our anger. We are questioned for our softness. We are, okay? A great warrior is a poet.
Oh, yes.
Hello. If you ever got to watch Braveheart, one of the beauties of that story wasn't just all the fighting and blood. It was the love story that made the story what it was.
I've never watched.
If you're a Trekkie, a good Klingon is a poet.
Yes.
As much as they are raging, fighting lunatics, it is the dynamic of what is male. And sometimes we forget as husbands in our husbandry the poetic side, the engagement side. We revert to our granddaddies, and our show is our expression of love. I am attempting to regain my poetry. Because you deserve that. Because you've earned that. Whoa. In this walk, in this journey, in this reworking of my mind and how I think, I find that I think about you even more than I already was. Because it's important to figure out what I want to do so that we can do what we plan to do. That's all I got.
That's it. Well, you can't get two psychology majors together who live a life of mental health and wellness in our careers and not have two people who consider the number one sign you're ready to move, delineations of mental well-being. So I chose to title my number one sign was flexibility and resilience. Centering flexibility and resilience. With intention, the ability to fight my desire for control, that I can force a thing to happen because I have planned for it. I've planned contingencies. I've spent time on the ground. I've checked all the boxes, and this is as close to a zero fail. Letting go of that has helped me to understand I'm more ready 2 years in than I was when we started. I've spent a lot of time. Dr. Tracy Marks, if you watch YouTube, she is one of the psychiatrists that talks about mental well-being. Mental Health in a Nutshell is also another channel. And they talk a lot about neuroplasticity and how important it is to create opportunities for your brain to function differently. Because what I believe happens as I've aged is that I lean into comfort in what I know and the foods that I have always enjoyed, going to the places doing things I've always done, because this is a time in my life where I want less resistance. And so learning a new language is resistance. Being uncomfortable, like staying in a hostel instead of a hotel, means that I'm creating the opportunity for my brain to continue to grow and develop, so that there is more reason for to make more neurological connections. I think stress, racism, depression, anxiety, worry there are chemical reasons why our brains don't function as well. And I believe this process of moving abroad is helping me to gain more neurological connections that will reduce the damage that has been done because of the systems in which I've interacted with that have caused stress and strain, not just to me, but from an epigenetics standpoint, what I've brought from my forefathers that make me predisposed to triggers and trauma. And so I feel like integrating a way to say, this is the target, and that there's probably going to be about 50 ways to hit that target, and about several different timelines that I'm going to have to deal with. Some things you want when you want it, or you need it when you need it. Like with healthcare, I need it, and I need it now, and I need it to be accurate and good, good to me, good for me. And then there are other times when I'm just like, you want that now, but do you really have to have it now? And being able to take a deep breath. I talked to a friend of mine that I'm actually going to have on my channel this week. Jay Ophelia's in Barbados, and that's where my next trip is. And she said, what I notice when people come is their speech is so fast. She said their desire, their movements are so jerky. It takes, she said, sometimes she said, I'm beginning to pay more attention to it. She said, sometimes it takes weeks, if not the better part of a month, for people to go, oh, I'm the only one that's moving around like this. And maybe I need to chill. And she says, the closer you are to the environment in your new place that is built for your convenience, built to be as similar to the culture that you left, keeps you in that go, go, go. And she said, once they are integrating into their local community, that they, where they get a house or they have a long-term Airbnb rental and they go to walk to the market or they ride the bus or they try to get cell service or internet service. And they're like, okay, I got to wait in line. And I ask what documents I need to bring. And then somebody asked me for something I didn't bring. She was just like, the system is built where you have to make a choice. And that flexibility says I'm either going to be resistant and fight it, which is a whole lot of effort, or I'm just going to choose my battles and really be intentional. For me, resiliency isn't just something that I have found that I can do alone. This guy has spent the better part of almost 33 years with me. I've needed sisterhood deeper and broader than I could have ever anticipated. That the trust standard that I have is going to remain my trust standard, but you've got to find a way to find people to trust. Because you don't just need your people in the States, you need your people where you're going. And I've had to be strategic about how do I develop a resiliency plan? What do you call that? Disaster preparedness? I'm not a local. I don't speak the language. Hey, I'm learning the language. If they're giving out some kind of disaster bulletin, besides what the embassy might tell me, I'm not going to understand that. Somebody's going to have to say, these two people that are in my community are important. They should know this too. I'm going to need some of that leverage, which means I got to be more open. I've got to create more space. We did I think it was one of the very first lives where we talked about doing things, starting to do the things that are important abroad, doing them now while that means like knocking on doors, talking to neighbors. Y'all, that's just out of people build fences for a reason, not just because they want to separate themselves. And I'm saying I want to integrate. That is that request of flexibility in the approach that I have taken to life is necessary to my process.
I'm going to interject here. Sorry. It's funny how, I don't want to say the roles have changed. So over the 30 years, I've been the engager. I've been the introducer of the people. I've been that's been my responsibility. It's who I am as a part of my dynamic. She's making friends way better than I am. And it's not the inability or the lack of people to engage. It's just, and I don't know if it's time in life. I don't know if it's expectations. I don't know if it's mindset. You have engaged this community in a way that, if I can be honest, I didn't expect. And that's not,
I didn't expect it either.
And that's not a negative, your inability to do. I happen to know that you are far more social than you think you are. Okay. And again, when we're using the introverted, extroverted concepts, I think sometimes we misunderstand because we think of them in the, yes, psychology people, the DSMR, extreme senses of the word. There is an engager in you that has sought to be free a long time, for as long as I've known you. And there is a space in this community, and not just the Exodus Summit community or the H&D Abroad community, but in the world community that I believe has challenged you and opened you up to an engagement process that I am reaping the benefits of. It is my turn to learn how to see the world, engage the world, talk to the world, overcome my insecurities. And it's the flexibility of we're doing things the same, but we're doing them differently is, again, it goes back to me with my mindset. Am I okay with that? Am I okay being introduced instead of being, the light of the room kind of thing? I'm ecstatic. Just for the record, I'm having a blast. Do your thing, because in my mind, wherever you grow and excel, seeds of that are planted in my field. And I think that's an amazing part of this process, because it goes back to what we've talked about in the past, is the dreams again, the dreaming together again in this, because there are new pieces to this. And I need to get on board. Keep going.
Okay. Let's see. So people and friendships was the last point toward the resiliency and flexibility. Mistakes are not failure, but I'm just learning what works and what doesn't work is a part of my resiliency roll up. There are a lot of things that you overlook. Paying that $70 for that, not having the luggage, the argon oil debacle of Spain was. I mean, these are meltdowns.
but shit happens.
But you learn. Look, now we created a checked bag. That everything that needs to be checked goes in that bag because of now I know how to streamline that process so that not necessarily that it doesn't happen again, but that I create a level of awareness. Irritations, y'all, I just learning how to deal with we in a studio.
Don't act like you like
there are only so many deep breaths you can take.
Oh my God.
Until you need your space and working it out. It's not that being in the same place is what is irritating. I'm picking up on the vibrational needs that I have. And so it's like I have to have this time where I'm just, where I'm just like, I need the quiet. I need the introspection time. And then there's a time to come together and recognizing those things, things that aggravate me, irritate me. Instead of lashing out, I'm beginning to ask myself, why? Why are you irritated? Have you eaten? Do you need to hydrate? Do you need a nap, ma'am?
Yeah, I got Snickers in stock back there.
Look. Part of my resiliency and flexibility plan has been talk it out. You guys have seen me struggle with, I don't want the kids to feel abandoned. Leaving my mother, my nieces and nephew, what does that mean? And what I've recognized is that anticipating a thing, whether it is feeling the guilt and anticipating that I need to resolve it in some way, or, that there is an expectation that's out there that I won't meet, that doesn't vibe with what everyone else planned to happen, that I have to give myself the benefit of talking it out. Doesn't mean that my plan changes. And that's something that I realized that I was more ready to start the conversation about moving abroad, is when I started saying to the people that had influence in my life, we are moving. I want you to be aware of what's happening. And I want to hear you, so the door is open, not to change my plan, but out of respect for our relationship, I want to hear you. And so sometimes that means hearing people talk about that place is dangerous, that place is, and recognizing that people come with their fears, desires, expectations, but that doesn't shake me. That's when I knew I was ready. Like I had more, it's more than just mindset. I felt like I don't know, the tougher skin I was grown. I mean, whatever you want to call it. that was another point where I was able to touch it and recognize, I can see your growth, ma'am. I can see that you're ready. Decisions have to be made, but grace keeps me moving. What needs to happen to the house? The house still needs to be cleaned. Getting rid of stuff. What I started doing was, okay, lay it out all on the floor. I can't take it all. What are things that are really important to me? And then using a feelings check. So I have a pretty extensive herbal birth work. I'm trying to sit for my international breastfeeding certification. And I laid all these things out on the floor because I was just like, I can't take this stuff with me. And Herman could see I was really struggling. And he was like, why do you have to get rid of all of those things? Pull back it was a much smaller stack. I still let some things go, but I'm being strategic. And what I recognize is if I've given myself enough time, then I'll probably go back to that stack and cull it a little bit more. That doing it the hard way, just throw everything away isn't the choice that is authentic to me. And a part of my resiliency strategy for me is to pay attention to how emotions show up in my body. And I've talked about this on the Thursday self-care with several of our guests as well, where we've talked about the mind-body connection and how a lot of times we are cut off. We cut off that link. And that this process for me is an intentional reconnecting. So chakra work, yoga, meditation, quiet time, exercise, silence, time in nature, grounding. Those are things that are intentional about creating the robustness, not just in my mind, but also a sensing in my body that I should pay attention to. Sometimes we feel like when there is friction, that I should stop because this should not have friction. And I'm like, friction is movement. Friction is growth.
Friction is strengthening.
And so if you don't have that as a part of your process, then you just standing still. No, thank you. I now know that I should pay attention to it, whether that's in journaling, and Subangale is on her 15 minutes on Friday of writing the great American novel, gives me time to draw, to color, to journal. Taking that time, giving myself that time before my day starts, at the end of my day, checking in with my body, checking in with my partner, is a part of how I'm creating not just flexibility, like bendy flexibility, but like what I'm learning about the brain is that these intentional activities, physical activities, exercise, are actually building that into my body as well. So
I want to say, this may be slightly over, but I want to say this, especially to those who are doing this process with someone else, be it a partner, be it a child, be it a parent, you are sharing this, potentially sharing this experience with someone else. There is a big difference between being tolerated and being appreciated. Whether you are tolerating somebody's fantasy to do this, or you're tolerating somebody's going along with you doing this. Toleration does not bring excitement. Appreciating that a person's perspective is different than yours, that their approach to this engagement, and not just this move abroad process, just life in general. When you share space with other people at your job, when you're on the street, driving in your car, in your home, appreciate that they are having a separate experience from the one you are aware of. I had supervisor, I had coworkers who would complain the supervisor was doing this, that, and the other, this, and that, and the other. And then I'm sitting down next to the supervisor, and the supervisor complaining if they would just do this, this, and this. And I said, you do realize that, leave your home life at home is a bunch of bull. I said, because the attitude you brought here this morning as the employer, as the supervisor, was based on whatever you dealt with before you got here. And you maximized on it in your anger, whatever was your expectations when you got here. And they're doing the same. That person that you're mad with over there, their life house looks like your life house. Yes, I happen to know what yours is and theirs is, because y'all bitch about it all the time. And y'all are having the same conflict because you got the same life. You can't just leave that behind. You cannot just dismiss that someone else is approaching the expectation of life differently than yours because the weight of their experiences have influenced what they do, how they speak, where they're going. Dee has lived with me in this house for over 25 years. And what we share in this house is the same. Our perspectives on what has happened in this house are not the same. As well as the individual things we have dealt with in our lives and brought back to our house is different. So when we deal with this, I don't want to be tolerated. You may not understand. You may not agree. But when I know that you appreciate that I'm dealing with this and however I'm dealing with this, it makes me a little more, it makes the people in your life a little more willing to say, I'm hurting here. I'm confused here. I'm not ready. And on top of those blank statements, here's some background on that. Here's some knowledge on that. You may be aware. But it's funny how much we share space with people and are completely unaware of some of the things that they battle with, that they struggle with. At the core, we know the experiences, we know the things, but we're going, why does that bother you? Why is that a thing for you? and you go, look back over here and look back over there, and you know how I felt about that, and this was this, and my expectations, and we take for granted that because it doesn't bother you, it shouldn't bother anybody else. The country is doing that enough to us without us doing that to each other in the individual spaces that we live in, that we are destroying. Yeah, Pamela, that we are destroying the energies of each other, which then make this less appealing, less engaging, less. I'm less open to receiving and understanding and a collaboration. I appreciate your appreciation. Even when you were tolerating me.
Well, I
don't mean that negatively. Let's call it what it is.
I was like, if you say yes, then that is what I'm going to believe today.
Okay.
Because all of the conjectures and things that I could suppose were happening behind what you were saying, I was just like, I'm moving forward, and what I'm going to do is give time the opportunity for us to flesh out some of the things that I felt were impediments to, like I said, the focus of this being good for me, good for you, good for us.
Yep.
So
no dog companions here. The only thing we're considering is these young adults that are making decisions in their lives, and taking into consideration where they are, what's going on in their lives, appreciating their understanding of this process, taking a deep breath despite our fears and concerns about what may or may not happen with them if we're away from them. I don't have room for a pet. I don't have the space for something that needs care when I want to change decisions. A child would be a delicate enough situation, but at least I'm having a conversation with that. And when we take this child, but we don't have that current concern.
So, yeah, we lost our baby 3 years ago. Yeah.
Already. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I miss Nico.
No doubt.
Okay. Let's see. There are 2 more things.
Go for it.
So I also, as a part of the resiliency, flexibility, that I recognized that something was fighting me gaining that. I'm calling it the poison of convenience. This life in the US is structured with so much convenience that it makes it difficult when you're in a space that is not built in the same way to, it's just like, like you're stumbling. You're just, I felt like I was stumbling more. And so I'm looking at how to begin to take away. And I think we did. I mean, when we sold most of the cars and we have one vehicle, we took a lot of the convenience of going and being in separate places to, if we go out, we go together. When we come back home, we come back we live too far from the city for us to make multiple trips. And so when we go, we go. When we come back together. That the intentions around cooking and meal prep, even in environments where it is less expensive to go out to eat, that is a part of what we already do, that we'll be able to do in abundance and at a better price point than we're doing now. So recognizing how how convenience can actually eat away at my personal readiness indicator of resiliency and flexibility. And then the last, flexibility for me means that my mind is expansive. The possibilities are expansive. I started this process with, I need to find a job that will allow me to work outside the US. Mm-hmm. I also started with, I need to have 5 years of savings before I leave so that, okay, so I had some hard edges that this process and interactions with Dr. Linda, I'm in her coaching program. I believe it's Freedom Academy. Dr. Linda, if it's not Freedom Academy, I apologize. Put it in the chat. What being in a community of people who are also moving abroad is the abundance of the possibilities. You can see them up close. And that a part of my resiliency, I talked about the poison of convenience. The benefit of resiliency and flexibility is entering into a space of abundance. That there's enough money in this world to support the life that we want to live and the way that we want to live it. That there is enough time in the day to care for myself and connect with friends and do the work that brings me joy and to slow down and speak to a shop owner, someone walking their dog while I'm on my way to an appointment. We interviewed Joycelyn and her husband on this channel. They were talking about moving to Ethiopia. Mm-hmm. They lived in Honduras. They had lived in the Dominican Republic. And she said, she created more time in her morning so that she could have those interactions. Not necessarily because that was her personality, but people sought to engage her, so she created more room. Where am I failing to see abundance in my life? And then giving mental space, creating flexibility of, yes, my mother is the queen of where there is a will, there is a way. He has heard this from me since we were dating.
The same statement was by my mother in my house. So
where there's a will, there's a way. And how are you allowing the abundance? I feel like that the process of saying, there are things that I know enough of the things to start my life, and that there's enough in the world with just sheer motivation and openness to connecting to people who can help me get there, that I can grow into the life that I want. So I may have to start in a country that has the fundamental things and grow to the places where I need more of some of the hard and fast things to make being in that place. I want to go to Thailand. I'm cool with being 13 time zones ahead. Can I really realistically live the life the way that I have my current work set up to do that? it's going to be a gradual process. And that's not because I don't have it all figured out, doesn't make me quake as much as it did when we started this process 2 years ago. Flexibility and resiliency being my goalpost, my markers, and my relationship to those things. Above that abundance that the universe can't do anything but bend to. Mm-hmm. A heart that seeks to move with respect and honesty in the world. I'm not saying that nothing's going to happen, but I feel like, as they say, as Jan Love Van Zandt says, the universe is round. When you give, it's going to come back in some kind of way. It just is. I mean, even if you got 10 negative things coming toward you, I truly believe if you continue to put that out, you will either see it or it will happen on your behalf.
And the flexibility of that we've learned personally over the past several years, it does not always come back the way you sent it out. Oh, yeah. So because you sent out $10 doesn't mean $10 is coming your way. And because you send it out today doesn't mean it's coming back tomorrow. It might not be from any of the people or any of the things that you gave into. It might be from a situation that is completely unrelated to anything, but it may not show up when you wanna, but it's right on time. And that reality changes how we invest into our world community. Yep. Because I want to say it was Nathaniel Hawthorne who died poor. Yeah. And destitute. That's a lot. And somebody came into his house and found all his writings and became rich off of his stuff because he didn't believe he was that great a writer and he held on to it. And if he had put it out, you have something that someone else can benefit from. And when someone else benefits from what you have, you benefit. And that might be financially, that might be in an entrepreneurial way. It just might be that old smile. I talk about it all the time, and I'll talk about it again. Several years ago, there was a commercial. In the commercial, you see they start off with a pretty young woman. She's smiling, and then she turns away. She smiles, and this guy sees her smile, and he smiles, and because he thinks she's smiling at him, and he walks off smiling, and somebody thinks this smile, and this smile spreads, and they get down 15 seconds into the commercial, and they rewind all the way back, and when they go back, they turn around from what the young lady was smiling at, and there's a nice, Toyota passing by or whatever, and the cause. The initial reason for the thing that creates a spark is often irrelevant. It's, are you a part of causing a spark? Yeah. And my mindset change, our flexibility adjustment. Listen, despite what the title says up there, money is still a factor here. Yeah. It still is impacting how we are planning, but we are putting into account and into effect some things that will make us rich. And I don't just mean financially. Well, that will enrich our time and space. That will initiate the opportunities that will make this experience, which, if we're very honest, at times is highly challenging. Yes. Is very overwhelming. Can be weighty, despite the smiles we start off with at each beginning and end of each of these screens. But we have this hope. We sustain a faith mindset that what is for us is for us. Is for us. And we believe that same factor exists in and for each and every one of you. We get on here and we tell you more than you need to know. We share more than we want you to know. But at the end of it, we believe that there is something for each of us that is destined for us.
Absolutely.
And when we are more flexible and we get our minds right,
the possibilities are endless.
Whoop, there it is.
So, I say start wherever you are. Start if it's fear of what's could happen in the States, if that gets your motor running. But what we're inviting you to do is to pay more attention. There are more than just logistics at play here. And that thoughtfulness, I think, is going to increase the likelihood that the experience provides for you what you are looking for. And so be open, be open, be aware, connect, and we'll be here again next week talking about another aspect. It is Black History Month. I'm going to say it again because I'm doing this because there was a time when we did not have the freedom of movement. It is my choice. I don't have to defend my choice. If it makes sense to me and mine, that's how we move forward. And I'm hopeful that those who encounter our channel will also confront within themselves, how does this play out of the abundance of the history of our families, of our community, of the Black community here, and that it's okay to move on when it no longer serves you. And so may you find peace, joy, love, connection. We have. We'll see y'all next time.
Y'all take it easy. Love you.